Dating can be tough. From finding a date to dressing for the date, it's all a series of really difficult decisions. But you certainly don't want to make it tougher on yourself than it already is.
Well, Carolina's Matchmaker is here with some dating faux pas you don't want to make. Welcome, Laurie Berzack. She's here to go ahead and get us hooked up because it is absolutely crazy. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Well, good. Let's start with technology because I think technology has absolutely changed the game. What do you say about it?
It's the biggest problem, I think. People are jumping, they're using their smartphone as a crutch, and they're hiding behind it. And so what people are doing is they're texting instead of old-fashioned calling, and they're using social media as a perfect form of communicating with someone. So before you know it, people are having this weird pen pal relationship with their dates, and it doesn't evolve into anything. They're texting in invitations to meet up for coffee or for dinner. People are missing texts. They're texting people during work when they can't respond, and then people are getting offended, okay, when they don't respond, and it's too much. And so I say, pick up the phone. Make it happen.
And that's for men and for women as well?
Both, for men and for women. If somebody, and here's my pet peeve, is when somebody calls and leaves a message, then the other person responds by a text message. No, that's not how it happens. It needs to be equal. So I have no problem with a woman picking up the phone and calling someone back or initiating a phone call. Absolutely.
Okay, so once we get past that first big mistake of texting too much or using social media as our crutch, what's the next move? What are some of the mistakes we make when we actually get to the actual date?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious ones, like being rude to your server or, checking your email at the table or talking about exes. But I'm sort of split a little bit on the following. Some people say that the first date should be just light and fun and airy and don't talk about anything serious. But then there's the other side of the coin of, like, let's make it real. Let's talk about our 5 to 10 year plan. Let's talk about our bucket list. I have a couple that got married because I told them to bring their bucket list with them to the date, and they went through it and they realized, like, it was aligned, and they were like, let's make this happen, and they got married. They just had a baby.
Wow.
So I know that's like one of my happy stories. Yeah, my recent ones. And so I feel like, when you're on a date, if you're a woman, especially in your late 30s, and you really want to have a child, I have no problem with just throwing it out there. It doesn't have to be, I want you to be, I want to be your baby mama. But it can.
I need a baby now.
It's fine to say, I'm looking forward to having a child of my own one day. And if the guy's like, I'm out of here, then that's fine. Let him go.
Yeah,
that's like an easy way to slice through it very, very quickly. And to talk about family, I think it's fine.
Well, how about some of the realistic and unrealistic dating expectations we have as we meet?
Well, I think that sometimes people are very judgmental, and I think the whole online dating scene is really added to this. So, you go online and you look at like the thousands of eligible people and you think it's a candy store.
And they lie too because they're not really like that, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other segment right there. We can talk about that. And so you think, okay, I'll go on this date. Oh, he wasn't the right one. His shirt was wrinkled, or, I didn't like the way that he talked about himself a little too much on the date. Next, but you know what? He could have been a great guy. Maybe he was nervous. I always say go out a second time as well. Don't be so judgmental on the first date because it's not always like what's behind door number 2 is the best.
So what's the difference between the second date and settling?
Well, that's a very good question. So I think that you need to feel it in your gut. You have to feel that excitement. You have to feel the attraction, and it needs to feel like you're coming home. That's like the magical formula, I think, for is this the right person for you? It should feel incredibly comfortable. It shouldn't feel like you're nervous or that you can't think of what to say. And when it happens, it's just so obvious than anything else you've ever experienced.
Is there anything quickly, what's your number 1 or number 2, 3 things that you don't do on a date? What are those things?
What other things that you absolutely don't do on a date is you don't drink too much.
Okay.
That's a biggie. And also in terms of like, not necessarily on the date, but in terms of like the realistic of a relationship, I always say don't jump into bed too quickly.
Watch out now.
You got to watch out because the emotional, intellectual connection that happens before intimacy is so important for people to really bind themselves to each other. And when you throw sex in the mix, it gets really confusing and people get kind of squirrely in the head about all of it. So I say hold off on that as long as you can and just try to keep that emotional balance going.
Well, thanks, Laurie. She's the Carolina Matchmaker. You can get her at carolinamatchmaker.com to get more information. Go online because you need to check her out. Thank you very much. And don't jump in bed too soon. Still ahead on Charlotte Today.
Why are you looking at me?
It can be a struggle to balance the drive to eat healthy every day, stress and life and work. My goodness.